Hello everyone and welcome back to a new devlog for my retro-inspired horror game. Last video was a bit of a discussion on a little bit of everything for what has happened, and a lot has changed since then already regarding the project, so let's jump into what this video will be all about. There's been a lot of changes to the project overall, the timeline I had set for a Steam launch and what I wanted the game to be in the end. All of those have been pretty much thrown in the mixer, and there are some new ideas for what the plan forward will be. We'll also have a look at some enemy updates, ideas for new mechanics for them, which I think are sounding really fun in my head at least. Lastly, there will be a quick update on some art stuff, both on the style of the game and how I want the look and feel of it to be updated. So let's get started. Let's start with the largest update, which is the changes I want to do to the project. My original plan was to first finish the first area of the game and use that as a vertical slice to kind of base the remaining areas off, as well as use it for the Steam Next Fest demo this summer, followed by the actual release shortly after. Now all of this has pretty much changed due to several reasons. Firstly, I felt that the game was a bit uninspired, to be honest. There was not that much visually or mechanically really to interest me for the game, which just kind of made it less fun to work on. I also felt that the idea from the start was to use the project as a fun way of learning Unreal Engine, and it started that way, but since you can't just make new fun things all the time, the learning kind of took a backseat to production of things instead, and when that is already feeling a bit uninspiring, it becomes a bit of a drag. So the idea is pretty much to scrap the releasing on Steam idea first off, and instead focus on releasing each of the 4 wings of the game as a separate experience on itch.io for free instead. This will let me first off actually try out new things for each wing and spend a bit more time on making them stand out from each other instead of focusing on reusing as much as possible. I also like the idea of removing the payment barrier and the stress with a Steam release, and just make it available for everyone when I feel that the section is completed. And in that spirit, after each section is released, I also plan on packing all the assets used to make the section into a free asset pack for everyone to use as they see fit as well. So those are the overall changes to the project, and I think they will let me focus on trying out new things and keep learning while not getting bored or stressed from a side project that is intended to be fun. The devlogs for the project will continue, but they'll be more focused on if something has been added and more on a when there's something new to show basis instead. Hopefully this will open up more chances to make other kind of videos at the same time, since the game and devlog videos are pretty time consuming to work on. Well, with all that out of the way, let's have a look at some more art related updates for this time, with a focus on testing new things and seeing what sticks. Let's start out with building out the first wing of the game. It's been pretty much completed with the modular tile set I created last time. However, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a super fan of getting the reused feeling when walking through the corridors or rooms made with the same set. So I've started working on more unique room sections and more visually interesting sections. I just started with it, but I think it will be adding a lot more personality to each section of the game to have more custom-made areas and assets. I'm also looking into creating a lot more texture sets to use. Currently, most of the areas use the same walls, floors, and I think they can be made to look a bit nicer all in all. I also started on something that was the first time for me, which was creating a character and texturing it to try and make it look like someone who could have worked at the research station. It's going to be the first basic enemy in the game, and the idea is that these are the researchers that worked at the station before the accident. And the player can come across these in a few places, kind of wandering around mumbling nonsense and staying pretty passive. Their base functionality is that they can locate the player right now by sight in a cone in front of them. I want to add sound to that as well later, so that they can hear you if you're running around. When they see the player, they'll start moving towards them pretty slowly, and the player can use the camera to take a photo of them to stun them for a short amount of time to get out of the way. Right now they can start moving again after a short time, but the idea for these enemies that I want to add is that if you stun them with the camera, there's a chance that they change shape into something else instead, that will be a faster and more aggressive version, and also have the ability to kind of merge with walls and exit through them somewhere else. So the player can choose if they want to sneak past enemies or risk creating a lot worse enemies by using force to get away from them. It sounds like a fun mechanic at least, so please let me know what you think of it and if it sounds like an interesting challenge or not. Also, a fun part of creating this enemy was that I wanted to try out texture painting in Blender. I've never used it before since I mostly use Substance Painter for my work, But Blender's texture painting is really great, I learned, with lower resolution textures. It took a few tries, and I know I will redo the enemy texture again, but for the first time I'm quite happy with the results anyways. Definitely something I'll be looking into more. The same goes for a program called 3D Coat that I would like to try out a bit more for this kind of work as well. So as I mentioned earlier, I've also started to try and look at some more interesting architectural and design styles for the look of the game. Earlier I went in very light on references with a vague idea of like 80s style brutalism for the architecture. That, to be honest, I did not follow that much either, which now ended up making the game feel kind of uninspired in its look, and I really wanted to do something about that. So I've been looking into adding some more kind of old retro sci-fi elements into the more concrete architecture to see if that would make things pop a bit more. I've also been working on some new 3D props to populate the level with as well, and hopefully that will help make it a bit more interesting and varied to explore. I think overall since the last video I have focused a lot on trying new things and learning again, which has been really fun, and I think a lot of interesting ideas have come out of it. There are several mechanics and features that I'd love to add to the level going forward as soon as I get a better grip on how to implement everything and try not to overscope too much. And on the topic of learning new things, I also wanted to take the time to thank this video's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant helps you get smarter every day with thousands of interactive lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Brilliant is a learning app designed to be uniquely effective. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving that lets you play with concepts, a method proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Now, Brilliant's first principles approach helps you build understanding from the ground up, and a perfect mix of engaging problems, competitive features, and daily encouragement keeps you motivated and on track. Plus, all content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers and researchers and other professionals. I know that sounds pretty awesome, but what mind-bending topics can you actually learn about them? Well, what is more mind-bending than jumping into the world of science? Brilliant's science courses help you make sense of our universe at every level, from the mechanics of simple machines all the way to mind-bending physics of black holes. So try and learn to think like an engineer as you design electric circuits, gear systems, and stable bridges, or better understand our world by exploring the physical principles that drive modern technology. Whatever floats your boat, develop your scientific intuition through visual, interactive problem solving that gets you hands-on with key concepts. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/pixelperfect or scan the QR code on screen, or you can also click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. So what does the future hold for the project? I think continuing the work on making things look more interesting by gathering some more style references and testing out populating the level a lot more with things that give it character and some visual storytelling is a good step forward. In my head, I really like the idea of the old school sci-fi aesthetic, like in the Alien movies or Blade Runner, for example. So that's first on the list to work on. Then, with the Steam timetable shelved and me having more time to work on the first section, I have a lot of fun features and mechanics that I want to add somehow. Not sure yet, but some ideas I have are to add interactive computer terminals that can be used in a variety of ways. I also want to add security cameras that can be used to scout around, and a new enemy that can see the player when you're looking through the cameras, as an example. So lots of fun stuff going forward. I think lately I've been less interested in the project simply due to the fact that it was supposed to be a fun learning experience I do in the evenings, but when I started to put dates and a timeline on it, it kind of was ruined. So I'm really looking forward to this new way of working instead, and I'm already feeling more excited in getting to make each section its own thing. As mentioned, the devlogs will continue, but I really want to make some time to create more tutorial videos and other things as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.